Okay, hello and welcome back to my live stream of our life beginnings and always. We are continuing our playthrough. We are on step 3 of 4. And as you can see, I have played 4 moments so far, and there are 6 left, 5 of which are DLC. So, that means that the description on YouTube will include a link to the base game, which is free, and the DLC for step 3, which is not free. And something I had not realized until last week was that once you play through a moment, you can't go play it again unless you reload a save where you couldn't play it. You can't go back to moments once you play through them. For people who are new to this game, I can talk really. You are playing you start out playing a kid who's grown up in this little beach town that's normally just a tourist destination, but you live there year round. And when you're 8 and your neighbor moves in across the street from you, and he has a little boy named Cove, and the two of you become friends. And it's up to you how close you become. You can remain distant, or you can become very close, or even end up with a crush on each other, because the game was designed that he reflects your character's development. So if you never move beyond being indifferent to him, he never moves beyond being indifferent to you, which I imagine would create a very different story than what I've been playing, which is the two of you have become friends, but you don't become romantically involved with each other. Because I figure, that's what I try to do with my live streams, is I try to pick routes that most other people wouldn't, or don't, or haven't. And I know that probably most people who play the game, at least the first time through, will want to romance Cove, because that's kind of what this whole thing is about. But I didn't want to do that, so I stuck with just being Cove's best friend, which has been interesting. Off stream, I have been playing the game over again, romancing Cove, and it is very sweet and adorable. And if you definitely want that whole childhood friends to sweetheart, high school sweethearts to lifelong partners, go for it. It is worth it. But the devs are working on DLC where you end up with someone besides Cove. So I am looking forward to those. But yeah, I decided to go with just friendship with Cove because age representation, baby. Yeah, for now, Cove moves in when you're 8, and then the step 2 is you turn 13, and Cove's mom comes to visit for the summer. And that is, 13 is a pretty big milestone. Step 3, you're 18, and I'm assuming step 4 is you're 23. So, that being said, let's go ahead and start this up. Like a lazy cat, you stretch your arms above your head and yawn, blinking your eyes sleepily. The day was warm and pleasant, and you were lounging on the couch in the living room, finding it difficult to do much in that moment. There were days where it's like, I don't want to do shit, but I'm bored. Your mom's roommates had gone out shopping looking for some new items for your sister to take back and decorate her college dorm with. Dorm room. They had asked if you wanted to go with them, but you declined. For you, today was all about relaxation. I would drop by to spend some time with you, content to join in with doing nothing. The two of you had been chatting idly as you raced around, talking about the other things you have planned for the summer. That's something else that I appreciate is that the houses in your bedrooms change as you grow up. Because that happens. Like my parents lived in this house for pretty much all of my life. And it's definitely gone through some changes. We've had to replace furniture and television and so on. So it makes sense that even when you've lived in a house for 15 years, it's going to change. You're stretched out across as you sat on the couch. I got my dice. You think I would remember after doing this? How many times? There it is. There's my D4. Come to me. Yes, I am a dork. Why else would I be live streaming visual novels? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. Sitting next to him. His arm was resting in the back of the couch, and his long legs were stretched out in front, totally at ease. The day dragged on, and he found himself yawning more and more often between conversations. He'd almost dozed off completely when suddenly his bells rang out, disturbing the silence. The phone was on its charger in the kitchen, so it couldn't have been that. He pulled his own phone from his back pocket and checked the screen. The moment had jostled you, so he tried to readjust your position to get it right again.
Oh.
It's my mom. Bill waved his phone in the air, giving him a small smile. I'm gonna take this. I'll be right back. Hold on, time to keep him there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I win. Sit. I want them to keep him there. He shook his head softly and smiled at you. You're gonna make me miss this call. Can I have my arm back? You rolled your eyes at him, giving him a small laugh. Really, I want to just talk to him myself. It's easier for me. He got to his feet and stretched out, answering the call and holding his phone to his ear as he headed out. Hey, Mom, what's up? So I said hi. He turned to give you a nod, smiling as he walked backwards towards the door. The lock clicked behind him as he exited the house, and he sank back onto the cushions, idly trying to decide what to do next. After electing to grab your own phone from his charger, you resumed your position on the couch, tapping away at the screen. Your mind drifted away from thoughts of Cove and his phone call with all of the many ways your device could distract you. It was an effective enough way to kill the time, and you managed to do very little things when the door opened again and Cove returned.
Hey.
I'm back. You watched as Cove strolled over before you were still sitting. Is everything okay? Everything's fine, just... Sighed dramatically and let his forehead fall against the couch back. You know how I always just lie there and back whenever I visit my mom? There's a lot of stuff still on her plate. I could never take it all with me on the plane. Now I'm not going to be visiting her like I used to. I'll have to go get it at some point. He looked at you, his forehead creasing as he thought the situation through. London is pretty big. It's not really practical to have it shipped. I can drive over and pick it up. When will you go? That's what my mom wanted to know. She thought it'd be best to do it soon, before things get even busier. He paused and let out a soft sigh, his shoulders dropping, knowing it was something of a stressful job to handle. I think that's probably the idea that makes the most sense, too. It'd be good to get it over done with. I'll be setting out as soon as I can. Oh, another trip already, then. He gave me a grim smile and shrugged.
I know.
I'm sorry. Not a big deal. We're going to leave before you come back, right? Yeah, Looking up again, you met his bright aquamarine eyes, finding a sad smile tugging on his lips.
Oh.
Suddenly his eyebrows bent, and his eyes lit up like a lamp. You could come with me. What? You should come. My visits to my mom's are usually special, so she and I can spend time together. But this time it's not like that. It's an errand. My plan is to drive out one morning, spend the night, and then we can pack up the car next morning and turn right back around. It only takes 2 days for the whole thing. Got yourself for a moment, and he's like Cove's excitement. Are you sure it'd be okay if I go?
I mean...
Yeah, why not? I probably could use company. It's a pretty long drive for one person. Plus, you'd have a chance to see my mom in person. I know she'd be happy to see you again. He shrugged casually, smiling as you officially let Cove talk you into it. Let's do it. A road trip with the two of us would be fun. I'll have to let my mom know, but as long as we've got nothing else important on the days you pick, then there's no reason I wouldn't be able to go. Cove's face brightened, and you were sure the prospect of having a travel buddy made this house seem less tiresome. Oh, yeah. It's nice having someone to talk to. I'll call my mom back and tell her we can pick a time right now. Spend some time together going over your schedules and making plans for when you could take the trip. You needed to fit it in around both of your work schedules, which took a bit of doing, but came together in the end. Luckily, it was only a 2-day trip, so spending a couple 3 days in a row wasn't impossible. It wasn't long before the dates were finally set and all the plans were made. Excited! A short trip sounded like the perfect way to spend some time. You could listen to music, eat snacks, and enjoy the open road. No matter what you thought about things, the morning when you were due to leave arrived. It was cooler than usual, the sun barely peeking over the tops of the houses. Outside your house, on the footpath of the road, raised the Cove. You yawned loudly, covering your mouth with the back of your hand. Mornings were always a struggle. I liked that they remembered that you picked that. I bet if I played this on my other playthrough, the one where I romance Cove, that one I had my character be a morning person. I bet this part would be different. So that's cool, but these little things that you pick, they're acknowledged later on. That's awesome. As you travel back clutched in one hand, you watch the Cove finish packing up his car. He'd organized all sorts of things, water bottles, snacks, and who knows what else. Cove insisted he had everything under control and didn't need help. At least you could rest easy, knowing that it was all taken care of. As you waited, you glanced over Cove's car. You knew it well. It used to belong to Mr. Holden, and when Cove had learned to drive, it passed to him. He hadn't taken the opportunity to get a newer one. Yes. It happens in my family. The car that I'm driving now used to belong to my mom. It's pretty old at this point, but it's served both of them well so far. You just hope it had enough life left in it to survive a trip as long as the one you were embarking on. The sound of the door closing made you jump. You snapped back to focus and saw Cove walking towards you. He lifted his hands off on his pants and tilted his head towards the car. That's it. Ready to go? Yeah, I'm ready. He smiled and stepped aside, using his fist to situate your own bag where you wanted it. Once everything was safely inside, he glanced back at you.
All right.
We should get started. It's going to be a ways to go. Yeah, I have made the trip to Nevada, actually, because I live in California myself. And I think we usually take 2 days to make the drive, but I suppose it depends on where in Nevada you're going and where you're starting from in California. High five. You turned it happily, chuckling at your enthusiasm. As you climbed into the car and buckled up, Cove in the driver's seat and you swing shotgun. His eyes moved to you.
Thank you.
Thanks again for coming on this trip with me. Of course, it's no problem. You checked the mirrors and started the engine. You pulled out of the driveway and the trip began. The small child you got cozy in your seat and watched familiar houses in your neighborhood pass by. Cove reached over to turn on the radio. A crackle of static mixed with the odd snippets of sound filled the car as he flipped through the stations. Mr. Holden's car was in good condition, but it was well older. There's no way to plug in a phone to play music, so the radio had to do. But he settled on top 40 station before sitting back and resting both hands on the wheel. Actually, when MP3 players became a thing, and they came up with this adapter where basically it looked like a cassette tape, but it had a cord leading out from it, and you could plug it into your phone or MP3 player, and that's how you could play music in the car if it didn't have a radio adapter. But I know most days that you can get an adapter that plugs into the cigarette lighter in cars. So I suppose there are some cars that don't even have that, but it's like a DC charger basically. And you plug it in, and you can plug in the phone to that. But they haven't specified what model car this is, so I get it. Is this okay? Yes, you know what I like. How could I forget? So I was happy with the answer. Time flew by, and with it, the scene outside your window become more and more unfamiliar. I had reached out for a good long while, but the quiet was comfortable. We'd become all too used to each other's company over the years. Eventually, Cove broke the silence, clearing his throat softly before he spoke. It's been too long since you and I have spent time with my mom. I know she still comes to the neighborhood sometimes, but it's not even once a year. I'm always going to hers. I'm happy the two of us are doing this. Yeah, me too. But speaking of your mom and trips, remember the time she took us on that crazy drive all across town? He shook his head at the memory, his laughter clear and bright. Oh, I remember. I kept worrying about papers and shoes while you were having a blast. It was an amazing night. He smiled quietly to himself, clutching the wheel a little more confidently. The crinkling of his eyebrows to look with his thoughts and across over closed features. Mom always knew how to make things memorable. You can't deny that. Don slowly crept back into his place, both of you thinking back on that night and all the memories you had of it. You ever listened until you gazed out at a world that was slowly coming to life as the morning rolled on by. The sun shines higher in the sky. Luckily, the sunbeams weren't going right in your eyes. Hey, do you mind reaching back for me? He gave you a sidelong glance as he broke and came with a nod of his head and a tiny smile. I want some chips. I want some vinegar ones. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Personally, I don't like salt and vinegar. 4. That's a great flavor.
Right?
Right? Eat whatever you want to. I brought a bunch of everything. Stretching out the seatbelt to give yourself space, you twisted in your spot, reached into the bag holding the snacks. Took a bit of effort to sort through the collection of goodies stuffed inside. Eventually, the bag of chips crinkled beneath your fingers as you pulled them out and got back in your seat. Here. Thanks. Do you mind opening it? His eyes lit up at the prospect of the snacks, and you shook your head in amusement, popping the top of the bag. Want me to feed them to you? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Five. Hold the bag out. Open bag to hurt him. With his dipping his bag noisily, picking out a couple of chips between his fingers and popping them in his mouth. The sound of crunching and rustling filled the car as he reached over from time to time, taking a few more. Ultimately, he elected to drag out an entire handful at once, losing through the chips to the floor. After that, you rolled up the top of the bag and stowed the chips safely in the back again. You returned to the front. It was to find Cove crushing the fistful of chips into his mouth, crunching loudly. He wiped his hand on his pants absent-mindedly before gripping the wheel and spilling crumbs all over the place. Yes. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 4, 0. 2. You laughed at that. You couldn't stop the amused sound that escaped you, and when Cove raised a questioning eyebrow, you simply shook your head. The hours drifted by much the same way as that, with soon snacking and chatting as the day stretched on. It was fairly calm and quiet, traveling along the open road, and you found little in the way of interruption. At one point, you passed a "Welcome to Nevada" sign, and Cove gave a tiny cheer. It was in disbelief that the two of you were seriously all the way in another state like this. Eventually, you had to stop for gas and made a detour at a small diner to grab a proper meal that didn't consist of chips and candy. Oh, come on! After refueling both the car and your stomachs, the drive was back on, and just as the sun began dipping beneath the horizon, bathed in the sky in a wash of orange light. Little told me that there wasn't too much longer left to go. You were almost there. Took shifts. The route was very straightforward, and you'd had enough practice with driving to feel comfortable doing so. The night eventually fell in a blanket of darkness. The drive finally came to an end. So I pulled into the parking lot of Kyra's apartment building, the glow of the car lights disappearing as he turned off the engine and let out a heavy sigh. We made it. We're here. The two of you exchanged tired smiles, having successfully and safely completed one half of the trip. You were relieved to have actually arrived and eager to get out of the car and stretch your legs. Yeah, but you're tall. Well, I mean, even when you're short, it's just a relief to get out of the fucking car. We took the stairs up to the building together. After a knock, we were abruptly met by a flash of green hair as Kyra opened the door and immediately took her son in her arms.
Cove!
There he is, my gigantic baby boy. Mom. She squeezed him for a moment and then pulled back so she could examine his face. Are you even taller than the last time I saw you? So gave you a look and rolled his eyes musically as she patted the tops of his shoulders proudly. You say that every time I'm here. It doesn't even make sense right now. My last visit wasn't that long ago. Kyra simply laughed before letting him go fully and ushering the two of you into her apartment. Then she turned to you, a wide grin pulling at her lips. Oh, well, it's so nice you came along with, and as a bonus, you both arrived in one piece. Yeah, it's good to see you. It's been a long time. Kyra beamed at you both, and while you would have loved nothing more than to settle down and rest after the drive, you could see she wasn't going to let you go that easily.
So?
How was the trip? I mean, I was just a pinch worried. One, two, three, four. No. Four. Let Cove answer that. It was fine. No problems for us. I mean, Cove's father made it several times by now. You know, he's taken his phone. Okay. Kyra clapped her hands together, the bracelets around her wrists jingling. I'm so proud. I can really believe how mature you both are. Where did all those smarts come from? Not Mr. Holden. I ran a hand over his hair with an awkward chuckle.
I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe I got some from my parents. Mom looked up at him deeply, her eyes glistening as she shook the sentimentality off with a wave of her hand.
Anywho-sies.
You have to be half asleep already, huh? I don't want to keep you up much longer. Early morning and any hoosies. If you want to deal with sleeping arrangements, I've only got my own room and clothes, but the living room couch isn't bad. You keep your bed, Mom. Joel can use mine, and I'll sleep on the couch or the floor. Whatever's easiest. It doesn't matter for one night. I'll take the floor. Cove shook his head, dismissing the idea immediately.
No.
You're the guest. I don't want to take your bed. So I still don't want to take it from you, and I said it first. Susie narrowed your eyes at each other stubbornly. Kyra took that as her cue to step in. My house, my rules, and you know who I have to side with. I'd like you to take the bed, Jules. Fine. You hesitated at a moment, but it seemed you had to accept the hospitality. With a small sigh, you gave in. All right. Cool. So would you be okay with me sleeping on the floor in the room? I'd rather be there than out in the open in the living room, even if there is the couch. Yeah, you can sleep there. Kyra giggled softly, drawing your attention back to her. I'm not sure if in good conscience I can allow the two of you to stay in the same room together. Stay the night up having fun, and then you'll have to make the trip back on no rest. Come on, we're not little kids having a sleepover. We're responsible adults, right, Jules? Well, I am. Oh, well. Okay, this is just too much fun. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Maybe it's just in the living room after all. Really, you had a good point. Offensively, pleased with the decision even though Cove was not.
It's alright.
It's not what you prefer, Cove, but it's probably for the best. I'm sorry, I don't have an air mattress or anything. It's not a big deal. What the fuck? Bring back. Cove brushed it all off with a wave of his hand, giving you an understanding smile. Kyra clasped her hands together, her bracelets softly twinkling against each other again. It's only getting later, so I better let you prepare for bed. I towards the hallway and give you a small smile. I'll play hostess for a sec and show you where the bathroom is first, Jules, and where you'll be staying the night. Thank you. You hoisted your travel bag back over your shoulder and followed behind Kyra and down the hallway. Cove shuffled along behind you, disappearing into the bedroom while his mom had you go to the restroom. The apartment was small, but nicely decorated in soft, cool colors with plenty of artwork hanging on the walls to give it character. It was stylish and exactly what you would have expected from someone like Kyra. You reached in the bathroom and wishing Kyra a good night, went into the room and found Cove already there. He had changed into a sleeper for the night as well and set aside his glasses already. Looking around, you found the bedroom to look much the same as the rest of the apartment, with small ocean elements you were sure Cove must have enjoyed when he stayed here. All in all, the room was pretty and clean, but almost looked more like a hotel guest room than a bedroom. Cove only spent a few weeks out of the year there, so it made sense that it wasn't especially lived in.
So?
What do you think? It's pretty nice, huh? Mom? He's not British. Mom always keeps it clean and everything, even when I'm not here. That's sweet of her. Yeah, she's good like that. Seemed pleased enough with the response and gave you a small smile before opening the zip on his bag. When you went back to the room, you jumped in bed and under the covers, just as Cove was shuffling into his sleeping bag on the floor. Wait, I thought I was going to sleep in the living room. You ran until you settled in before you flipped off the lights, and a soft glow from outside peeked through the blinds, casting shadows over the floor. Close your eyes, blocking everything out.
Night.
Night, Jules. Night, Cove. Sleep well. The room grew quiet, as you wound down for the night, and you found yourself listening to the sounds of the city outside the window. The noise out there was so different to what you were used to back home. Cars moving past, and people out having fun instead of crashing waves and the ocean wind including your house from their embrace. This feels familiar, don't you think? We've been having sleepovers for years. Cove mumbled slightly and rustled on his bedding, turning to face toward your location.
Right?
It feels like I've had this view so many times, looking up over at you, tucked into bed. Trailed off a little, and as soon as you drifted off to sleep, too tired to continue the conversation. But then, as if the switch had been hit, he sprang up, startling you as he shot upright in his sleeping bag. Wait a minute. Why am I always on the floor? What? You raised your eyebrows at him through the dark. The times I slept over at your house, you got to stay in your bed. It was your bed, after all. When it was my family host, I think Dad always made sure you got the bed there. The words spilled out of him faster and faster, the pitch of his voice rising as the revelation spiraled. You said that you really guessed it was only right. No matter what, I've always been the one who takes the floor, every time. This is a racket. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6. Six. Don't be so loud. Don't shush me. My life is growing. I can't believe it. This has been going on for 10 years. Stop calling, you could see through the limited light that his eyebrows were angled in disbelief, his frown wobbly and sharp. That's how it is in my family. My moms have always thought that it was more fun and comfortable for the guests to use their own sleeping things rather than a stranger's bed. In my family, the guest gets to bed because it's good to make sure your guest has a proper place to sleep. We were opposites all along, but I never even thought about it. When it looked like the situation was going to stall there, he suddenly scoffed.
It's okay.
At least you're comfortable all those times you shared a room. Even though he meant the words, his being snarky about it. Despite looking on the bright side, he was still pouting. I did offer to for you to take the bed tonight, you know.
I know.
You know, but you're still the guest, and I hadn't had the epiphany. With a tired sigh, he flopped back down. I can make do with the floor, for old time's sake. Some real humor came back to his tone. Basically a tradition by now. Why don't we share? Big enough. He made a thoughtful noise, as though he were considering it. It wouldn't be as comfortable with the two of you on the bed, but you had wanted to offer anyway. No, it's alright. Thank you for offering, though. That was nice. Oh gosh, I'm just imagining how this goes if you're actually romancing him.
Don't worry about it.
You're already doing me a big favor by coming here in the first place. Just let me do this one thing and give you the bed. That's why I was for this trip, okay? There's no risk that you give a small nod, and I made a defeat. Alright, I'll have the bed. Thanks, Cove. He made a small noise, but said no more. You did an accepting sigh. You pulled the covers up under your chin and got comfortable. The next day dawned, ringing with it the sounds of birds chirping happily outside of the window. You opened your eyes slowly, laying on the chest of the light as you tried to recall where you were, and remembering the unfamiliar sight of Cove's second bedroom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Three. Go and nudge you awake. Rise and shine, Jules. Cove shook your shoulder and you groaned dramatically and buried your head beneath his pillow. 5 more minutes.
No way.
We've got to get started. Sitting up in bed, you let out a yawn and stretch your arms above your head. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hello. If you're a morning person, it shouldn't be that bad, so we'll go with this. You felt okay. Doing a long drive the day before and a late night, you're feeling ready to get the day started. So you weren't as perky as him, his energy was infectious. Good morning. You pulled yourself out of bed, grabbing a fresh change of clothes, and no, wait. Sorry, you're not a morning person. Still felt pretty groggy. You're used to sleeping in longer than this, and the late night hadn't helped. Morning. We were on completely different wavelengths right now. You pulled yourself out of bed, grabbing a fresh change of clothes and your toiletries before heading to the bathroom. After all that, you met Cove back in his room. He sitting on the floor when you entered, swearing through a bedroom step in a box, determining what to bring, what to leave behind. Hey, can you pull out the stuff in those drawers? Nodded, though he hadn't even looked up for his test, so you knew he learned a thing. Going over to his drawers, you started the test with taking out various items and setting them on the ground in front of Cove. Oh, hey, look at this. You turned towards the sound of Cove's voice. You found him digging through one of the drawers beneath the bed.
Neat.
Here's something I definitely need to bring. Neat. In your head, you got a better glimpse of what he was holding. An old yellowing book. When he opened it up, there were a few dried, fresh flowers between the pages. He said those had been gifts you'd given him for his mom's place. Something for him to remember you by and to make his time here less lonely. Yes. Adorable. Weird. He kept them the whole time. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 0. Nine. I started to feel emotional. I looked up at you when you sniffled quietly, seeming concerned. You wiped away the tears that were building in your eyes, feeling a little chilly. Sorry. I smiled at you, his face softening. Why would you apologize? It's alright. It's wonderful. Thank you.
It's nice.
These are special. It was important. I will keep a few with me when we are apart. I feel the same way. That's why I gave them to you. Cove smiled, pleased with the feeling was mutual. Then the expression became more amused. And did you keep the souvenirs I brought back? Nope. Shook his head with a grin. Thanks. Another hour passed by in silence, and you were happy to see you were making great progress with Cove's room. Only the closet left to sort through. You took a minute to take a mouthful of water from your bottle and perched on the edge of the bed, feeling productive. Cove glanced over at you and paused, putting down the tape gun he'd been using to seal up his box, raised an eyebrow. You know, it's really strange to see you sitting in this room. Why? From below, his eyes distant and his voice quiet when he spoke next.
That's...
No business to mine, but I was sitting alone in this room. Sometimes I think about how you weren't here. It was a weird feeling at the time. You just weren't around. Now that you are here, in this exact place, I don't know how to explain this feeling. Yeah, you get so used to things being a certain way, but when they're not that way, it's weird. He shrugged it off and smiled a little, as though he'd done it, and now followed and didn't want to risk sounding silly. That was pretty confusing, is all. I missed you so much when you were gone. His brow sprinkled as he looked at you sullenly, his eyes bright with emotion. I missed you too, all the time. It made you feel better to know that somehow, to know that when you were stuck at home with his company, that he was missing you words too. He looked away satisfied, heading over to the closet, and the last of the items to be sorted. Before long, every box, closet, and drawer had been thoroughly combed through, with the items either neatly packed up in boxes or organized and returned to their proper place. A sigh of relief, he glanced around the bedroom and the work you had done together.
All right.
We're done. Good job to us. I'm going to change out my PJs for the drive. Yeah. When the two of you headed out into the living room, ready to get everything finalized and hit the road, found Kyra in the kitchen pouring a cup of tea. Phil headed towards her, leaning casually against the counter that divided the two spaces. Hey, you didn't have to get up so early.
Come on.
Are you crazy? Of course I have to see you off before you go. You can't sneak away while I'm out cold. He beamed at him and, in all honesty, seemed more than happy to be up and getting ready for the day. You want some breakfast? I've got some muesli or eggs and toast. Oh, and some of that fruity cereal you used to love. That's okay. We should really eat on the road. Kara smiled sadly, a little displeased, but she seemed to understand that your time was running thin. So you might say that. In that case, I'll pack you some snacks for the road.
What do you think?
Even if you don't end up eating them, take it anyway, just in case. You can always feed them to Flip when you get home. And tell him I said hi. Cove laughed and shook his head, knowing his dad would love nothing more than to polish off whatever food Kyra had prepared for you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mom. You really didn't have to. You must be a mom thinking of stuff like that. Kyra smiled before resting her gaze on Cove fondly. One of the many pleasures of being a parent. She returned your smile with one of her own before putting her cup of tea aside. That's something in my eye. Well, I hope you get the car packed.
Sure.
Thanks. And oh my gosh, getting stuff up and downstairs is not fun. When my twin moved in for dorm room campus, she was upstairs, so we would just take whatever boxes and use the elevator to get them up the stairs. I think it was expected you would take the elevator up with your stuff and then take the stairs back down. I don't remember helping her move the stuff out. Of course, this was 10 years ago? No, not 10, 20. Yeah. The three of you got to move on, taking the boxes from Cove's bedroom and heading down to fill the back of the car until there was barely an inch of space left in the back and the front. With all of you hoping it only took a couple of trips to move everything, you were done before you knew it. And then it was truly time to say goodbye. And being back inside the apartment, Kyra looked over the two of you with a quiet smile. It was great to see you both. Thank you for coming. She gave each of you a hug, and you felt a little sad you hadn't been able to spend more time with her. It was good to see you too, Mom. Cove embraced you in return, the two of them holding on to each other for a few seconds longer. I'll miss you, but I'll visit again soon.
Of course.
You better. Hey, we should make plans for you to visit us too. I'll let you know when it's settled. I'd love that. Kyra bundled all the stuff she prepared into a bag and handed them over to you. Took a quick peek at what she had packed. There's fruit, nuts, seeds, hard-boiled eggs, and some veggie sticks.
Cool.
Oh, good to see we've got some fresh food options now. The snacks I brought weren't. Kara shook her head at him and let out a soft laugh, as though she wouldn't have expected anything else. I seriously hope you're feeding yourself better than that at home. Yeah, of course, just not on trips. I could live with that then. She looked over at him fondly, her eyes at last focusing on his face and filling with emotion. I'm going to miss you, baby.
Me too.
Okay. Remember, I'm choosing between these no two options. 1, 2, 3, 4. One. Thank you for letting this come. No problem at all. You're welcome anytime. Kara put an arm around the boat, pulling you tight to her side for one final squeeze.
Bye.
Have a safe trip. We will. The last goodbye, you exited the apartment, but Cove hesitated for a moment in the door, his expression distant. You weren't sure what he was doing, so you tentatively took a step towards him. Everything okay? The voice seemed to bring him back to earth, and he shook his head to clear his thoughts, his green hair swaying from side to side.
Come on.
Yeah, let's go. And with that, the two of you headed back down to the car, ready to make the long trip home. Soon enough, you were on the wide-open road with a car full of ghost things and only one destination, Sunset Bird, California. The drive went as smoothly as could be expected, with the morning slowly creeping into midday as the miles flew by. After a while, you switched places with Cove and took over driving for a couple of hours. The day flew by in a whir of open road and sunshine, and before you knew it, it was early afternoon. By that point, you had already crossed the state line. Cove announced that he planned a little stop on the way home. Quite pleased with himself, but you arrived at the precipice. The Redwood National Park. Shaded beneath a canopy of enormous redwood trees, you drove along. When Cove parked the car, you pushed the door to get out. The first thing you did was look up. Enormous redwood trees surrounded you on all sides, their massive trunks shooting straight up into a canopy of foliage overhead. There were too many of them to count, stretching on and on as far as you could see. You squinted against the sunlight that was speaking through the leaves and dancing on the paths around you. It's great, right? Now that you can remember the roof of the car before dancing around the place fondly. Remember the trip our parents took here that one summer? It was cool going on a journey and seeing the forest in person, even if we didn't stay very long.
So...
I guess we can stay for even less this time, but oh well. It just seemed like a good time to stop by. Who knows when we'll get another chance. George got a little soft at the end. It seems a bit bittersweet for him, being in a place where he's so fond of, and not having the time to appreciate it fully. Yeah, that was kind of sucky. There was plenty to look at, and it was a good chance to refuel with some snacks and water before heading out again. I'll put up with you for the trees. There'll be more chances in the future, I promise. Phil smiled, shoving his hand in his pocket and tipping his head. I'm gonna hold you to that. The two of you walked around for a while, completely forced by the sheer scale of the redwoods. You put your view on yourself and everything in a strange perspective, taking a lungful of clean forest air, listening to the sounds of bird song and the cool breeze rustling through the underbrush, taking advantage of the space to move around freely. Whatever you felt about being there, it was a totally different scene than sitting in that old car for hours and hours. Being here again, you couldn't help but reminisce on what else had happened during the trip you'd taken here all that time ago. There were a lot of things that have reminded you of it recently. The Desert Cove, which seemed to be lost in the peace of the place, wondered if any of it crossed his mind. Smiling at the sight, you thought back on what had been a highlight of that long-gone vacation. One, two, three, four. Three. Our families were so close. Back then and still now. We've done so many things together. Carl chuckled and shook his head, just as you were thinking back on how your families started to come together. Yep, we were just one big happy neighborhood, huh? Continued chatting about the trip a little while longer, about the things you had seen and done, and even eaten. A lot of the memories Cove had of the trip were similar to your own, but you were also surprised to hear other things from his point of view. So much had happened that there was no shortage of things to talk about. The place certainly had a nostalgic quality about it. The spirits were alight as you ambled past information boards and picnic areas. But before long, he decided it was time to bring this short stop to an end and head back to the car to get on the road again. Cove sighed when he had finally reached the vehicle, jangling the keys in his hand before unlocking the doors.
Well,
I wish we didn't have to go, but we're going to be responsible and not staying longer than we should. How grown up of you. He smiled slightly. With that, the two of you jumped into the car, buckled in, and he played in drive. You were getting closer and closer to town as the sun started setting, though you were still far enough away that the radio stations were unfamiliar to you. Cove twisted the dial this way and that before stumbling onto a channel with the song he seemed to like. It was a rare gift from the fates in the sea of stars, strange radio jockeys and grating tunes. His face immediately brightened at the sound of it, and he drummed his fingers one bottom on the steering wheel happily. Sitting back in his seat, he bobbed his head along in time to the tune. He looked over and rolled his eyes with a smile, clearly enjoying himself, despite everything. Yes, we chuckled, for the record. The song ended and Cove reached over to start cycling through the radio stations again. Not finding nothing trouble, he flipped the dial off in defeat and leaned back in his seat with a sigh. That's my problem. Is I can basically bookmark radio stations in the car, and so I cycled through the ones I had saved, and I don't like commercials, so I will change the station if the radio, if what I'm on, is playing a commercial. The problem is when they're all playing commercials. You rested your head on your hand and stared out the window as the sky darkened, watching the landscape slowly melt into more familiar views. The months went on, and any energy you had earlier was beginning to drain away. You imagined home and your family would be there together soon. You know, I spent all these years living in Sunset Third and took a few weeks each summer visiting my mom in that second room. It's not going to happen anymore. Not really.
I mean...
I guess this is my parents, the way it all works between us has changed. Forever. He paused, his eyes stretching. A serious look settled on his face, his thoughts far away. I feel the same about my parents, too. I know they'll always be there for me, but we don't really have the same relationship we used to. His mouth rolled into a tight line, and he gave a small nod. He got the feeling that he understood how he felt. Both stared straight ahead, down the long, long road. That looks like it'd never end from where you were. But that wasn't true. Eventually, he found a few more words to say.
I'm so glad.
I think it's good we were able to do this trip without any parents or chaperones. It was just us. We did it all. I don't know. I feel a little more independent now. A little more ready for what's ahead. I'm not sure I'll ever be ready. The thought of leaving home, my mom, it's scary. Cove sighed solemnly. The sky outside grew ever darker as the hours passed by, the stars blinking on like tiny fireflies painted on a canvas of blue. The scenery continued transitioning between open roads, industrial areas, and beach towns, becoming increasingly recognizable as time went on. You felt somewhat disconnected from the world around you as you watched it through your window, your tired mind growing hazy. It was a strange, reflective feeling, but peaceful nonetheless. Soon enough, the world would return to you, and you'd find your feet firmly on the ground. Couldn't be helped. The adventure would end, life would continue, but your memories would linger on. Ta-da! Okay. Time for the DLC moments. Honestly, I don't know how many we're gonna get. Looks like, judging by how much time we've been playing, just one more. At the station breakfast at the Holden's house, you and Cove had retreated to his room to relax before starting the day in earnest, or perhaps you would take it easy for the whole afternoon. Neither of you had plans exactly, so you were free to do whatever came to mind. One, two, three, four. One. Lazy on Cove said. Look. Down. because he had to fend off the urge to fall back asleep. So flashed that suddenly he mattered. He had his phone open and was idly scrolling through something on it as he enjoyed one another's presence nearby. A burst of laughter broke the silence, hooking your attention, bringing you back to the present. You looked at Cove for explanation. His eyes now twinkled with mirth, were still locked on the screen. What's so funny? Then I looked up at you, smirking. Dad scanned some old photos, you know. You're rectangle in the air with his long free hand. I printed out once, back from when I was little. He texted it all to me last night, I guess. I've been checking them out. He sat up wide-eyed and hopeful. You wanted to see. Want to see? It's okay. I just wanted to look at it first to make sure there was nothing super embarrassing. You never know with my dad. He grimaced, envisaging what horrors his dad might unwillingly spring on him.
I
I
mean,
mean, what if it's about me getting potty trained or something? The picture is not supposed to be embarrassing. That's part of the fun. He's holding out on you, but your protest was of no use. Cove only cleared his throat nervously, the fear of his dad's well-meaning actions still looming large in his mind. Anyway, before I forget, I was laughing because I came across a Halloween one from when I was 8. Sierra was a zombie, remember? Shook his head, grinning brightly while holding the phone out to you. I never even liked zombies. All I wanted was to shove my new scar, and it needed to be something scary. I couldn't be a normal person without a scar, according to my 8-year-old mind. I was a little dork.
right?
Dad really wanted to be useful, as usual. He came up with the idea of being an undead person. That was pretty good. It was pretty good, huh? Liz was so grossed out, and Shiloh was terrified. He laughed, so clearly remembering their faces from when they saw Coach get up that night. Cove chuckled at your reply. I can't believe how much larger my scar used to be. He looked down at his arm, a soft smile on his face, and traced what remained a projected line with his fingers, just as he'd seen him do countless times before. His voice was playful when he spoke again. Look at how tiny he is now. How am I going to pretend to be tough without a big scar? You're not doing anything stupid to get a new scar, you joked, wagging a finger at him, no matter how much you like them. I won't. I smiled bashfully, pleased with his joke, and ducked his head to look away from you. His fingers were still tracing the scarred patch of skin. I really do like having this, even if it is kind of little these days. His voice was shy, like he was letting you in on a big secret. I mean, he's grown, of course it's little. I like yours too. He grinned. He never failed to think of you too. Thanks, Cove. Cove turned back to face you fully, finally letting go of his scar. He was happy. That much was a part of him and clearly held meaning for Cove. I smiled back at him. Scar had been there as long as you'd known Cove, but when you first met, it had been concealed by that neon pink cast.
So?
When I hear how I mentioned jet skiing when I was 8, you were initially stunned that I guessed what you were thinking. So, given the topic of conversation and the direction of your gaze, it was a natural conclusion to reach. Yeah, I think you asked him once how he got it. He just said that he went jet skiing, but didn't ask the details. Not bothered by your reaction, Cove continued with a shrug. I don't mind telling you, it's nothing special. He rubbed the back of his neck, grinning sheepishly. That's just really dumb. You know, that was something we'd like to hear more about, especially knowing that no lasting harm had come of it. Cove stared into the distance, lips parted as he readied the story in his mind. Me, my dad, and Mom were at a party. I don't know if it was casual get-together or a specific celebration. I hope it wasn't for something meaningful, considering how I ended it. He winced, then managed a bashful smile. Anyway, my mom and dad were out doing stuff, talking to people, I guess. I was left with the other 9 adults. Most of them were older than I was. Maybe all of them were? His brow furrowed as he tried to recall dusty memories. Then he shrugged again and continued. I mean, it's been 10 years. You can't expect to remember everything. The older kids were taking turns on the jet skis. There weren't enough for everyone to ride at once, and between trees they were hanging out on the shore. Okay, so I explained where the jet ski came from. I was meant to just sit there with them and watch. Remember when you first met Cove, you bet that he hadn't been satisfied with that arrangement. He confirmed that suspicion. I was pretty unhappy. It wasn't hard for me, when all I could do was look at other people have fun when I couldn't. James must have realized that, though I never had when I was pouting as a kid. Remember when you were a kid? So bristled with embarrassment. It looked pretty sulky to you. Come on, let me finish the story. Alright. Cove sighed, letting go of the interruption, picking up where he left off.
Well...
Basically, someone offered to let me ride. I was way too small to drive myself, but the older kids, they must have been at least 16, so I could sit in front of them while they controlled the jet ski. I knew I wasn't supposed to do anything like that, so I figured my parents were doing whatever they wanted, so why couldn't I? I nodded at the first, and I remember the other teens helping me onto the jet ski, along with the one driving. It sped off into the water. He smiled lightly and wistfully. It was amazing. At first, my hair was flying everywhere as we zoomed away from the shore. I loved being out on the water like that. Too bad it turned out steering a jet ski with an 8-year-old sat on your lap was harder than a bunch of kids figured it would be. The team tried their best, but they couldn't keep control for long. We got spun around and went right into the sand. I sucked in a deep breath. The other person wasn't hurt. Thankfully, they held onto the bars to stay in their seats. I didn't. I slowed at full speed into a rocky part of the shore near the dock. I must have tried to brace for impact or catch myself because my arm is what I mostly landed on. I looked down at the limb in question. You could see he was seeing visualizing his long-healed injury.
That's...
It was pretty torn up. After that, it's easy for me. I got taken to the hospital. I didn't feel a lot of pain when it first happened. I remember thinking about was how I was covered in sand and the grades were uncomfortable. The sand was uncomfortable? Phil chuckled. I know, right? I did start feeling my arm later. Definitely hurt eventually. The doctor said my arm was broken along with being torn open. That's how I ended up getting my pink cast. Smiled nostalgically. That color, it seemed just nice and happy at the time, brightened the mood, so I picked it. Smile faded. There's the story of the sigh, his eyes downcast. I feel bad I did any of that. I hope whoever that team was, they weren't traumatized by seeing a little kid go flying into the ground. They're just trying to do a nice thing. Cove threw his arms out to his side dramatically. I wish I knew who they were so I could give them a call and thanks for one piece. But yeah, that's the full story. I'm really sorry that happened. I couldn't help but worry about how scary it must have been for all involved. Cove hung his head. You didn't press further. It's good that he regretted the impulsive choice he'd made. It was a failure. That's just the truth. He smiled flatly. That's to my credit. I think I've grown a lot since then. Well, you've certainly physically grown. Wait. His eyes went completely wide. Suddenly reinvigorated, his feet were and tapped away at the screen. What's up? I knew it. I'm not sure what he'd heard you, but he put his phone down and turned his face directly to you. His face was resolute. Though the glow of the screen no longer reflected his eyes, they seemed to sparkle even brighter than before. Jules, we're adults. We can decide things for ourselves now. Where is this going? The age requirement to rent a jet ski in California is 18. We could totally do it. You want to break another bone? Cove pounded, his lower lip jutting out, which didn't back up what he said next.
Come on.
I'm not a little kid. You don't have to worry. In a moment, Cove had recovered and returned to a serious expression from before. Now be careful. I really want you to be there when I try again. Please? His voice was soft and earnest. You could tell how much your request meant to him. He also knew him enough to know that he wasn't going to give up on this idea. Letting him go on his own wasn't an option. Can't have him running off by yourself. I'll go, without any hospital trips. I actually love jet skiing. Cove perked up at once, a grin stretched wide across his face. He's practically bouncing in place. Let's go! He got up and worked as a team to gather everything needed for the trip. Cove's other aquatic hobbies came in handy, and he quickly kitted out with everything you need other than the jet skis themselves. You needed to run back home briefly, having dressed and prepared for a day that didn't involve jet skiing, but soon enough you were both ready and jumping into Cove's car. As you got in, you learned that Cove had used a brief time apart to locate a rental store on his phone. He got his eyes as he clicked your seatbelt into place. Excited, he held out a hand. Cove slapped it in a high five before setting off. He and Cove soon arrived. The ocean was perfectly inviting today. The deep blue of the water glittered under the clear sky while the tide rolled in and out at its leisure. I'm so excited for this. The excitement was adorable. Seeing how pleased you were, Cove grinned at you.
Hey.
Oh hey, want to say hi to my dad while we're here? I've already texted my mom about the plan. He's working right now. Remembered how close his shop was. It wouldn't take long even by walking. Sure, we can do that. You weren't exactly close with Mr. Holden, but you couldn't tell Cove not to go see his dad.
Sorry.
Sorry, it might be kind of awkward letting here's why we're here, but it should be alright. I mean, my parents gave me a long time ago for that amazing stuff. I don't want to be scared off jet skiing for my whole life because of it. You wondered which of you Cove was attempting to reassure. For real. It was only a short walk back down the dock to Mr. Holden's scuba shop. Cove breathed in, as familiar with the store as he was with his own home. The place was quiet, empty aside for a couple customers quietly browsing and Cove's dad behind the counter. Mr. Holden looked up, his friendly expression spraying into a grin when he saw who had just entered.
Hey!
Hi, Jules. Hey, sport. What brings you all the way out here? He cast an eye at the way the two of you were dressed. Judging by how you decked out, I'm guessing scuba diving? Glad to hear from that. What can I help you with? Cove chuckled, amused by how quickly his dad had seized on a favorite topic. Maybe it was how his dad always fell over himself trying to be useful. Hi, Dad. We're not doing that this time. We still decided to go rent a couple of jet skis. The phrase jet skis had set Mr. Holden's mouth at a taut line immediately. Jet skis. He echoed the words as his eyes instinctively darted to the scar in Cove's arm. That's when Mr. Holden started to speak several times, each attempt quickly abandoned. Cove smiled encouragingly, trying not to add to his father's worries.
Don't worry about
I
it.
promise I'll be careful, and Jules will be there too. We always look out for each other. Mr. Holden pushed his face back into an unconvincing smile.
Right.
Alright, you're a whole lot bigger now than you were back then. Heck, you can drive a car and everything. I'm sure you and Jules will have plenty of fun. The words still echoed out in his voice, barely concealed by positive words, but Cove was buoyed by his father's support. Yeah, well, we're all set. We only stopped by to say hi and let you know since we were over here. Mr. Holden beamed, obviously moved by his son's simple consideration. So sweet. Oh my gosh. Wow, you're so thoughtful. Thanks for taking the time. Dad, you don't need to thank me for that. Mr. Holden quickly laughed at his son's response. It'd be great if you could keep me in the loop while you're out there too. Just text me to let me know if it's going well or anything. Oh, he's so worried. Oh. I mean, it seems unlikely. But yeah, I mean, this is the first time Cove's been back on a jet ski. So there's a reason I had Joel say that they've been on a jet ski themselves. So I will. His dad smiled more easily. Great. Joe rubbed at his arm, causing Mr. Holden's eyes momentarily switch back to the childhood injury.
Bye.
We're gonna head out. See you later. Take care. See you, Mr. Holden. Mr. Holden waved you off as he left the store. Oh boy. I'm a little nervous. We haven't even gotten that far. Personally, I have never been on jet skis because I can't swim. I've been out on a boat, and I went out on a little boat for a tour in like San Diego Bay, and I made sure to wear a life vest. We headed back to the docks, walking side by side. After her feet hit the boards, Cove's face fell. Glancing over, he saw him looking down, out over the water. That wouldn't have been unusual if his expression hadn't been so somber. He wasn't geared up with anticipation or even nervousness, but with an uncharacteristic lethargy. Something was weighing heavy on his mind. Nudged him gently. Huh? Wait, startled by your interrupting his rumination.
Sorry.
Excuse me. Oh. Some foods do not taste better when you burp them. Back up. Oh, sorry. Besides, though you turned its attention from the ocean, it gradually drifted back to the water. Cleared your throat and went to lose him again. Sorry, again. Put his hands to his face, rubbing his eyes wearily. We're gonna go with the gear. Everything's resolved with what's happened and we can have fun, but I can't just enjoy anything. I had to find something else to get stuck in my head. You're having second thoughts about jet skiing?
No.
That's not it. The ends of his lips were drawn into the beginning of a frown, like gray clouds clustering to signal a coming storm. Whereas my dad would be a little worried about me doing it, but what he was saying wasn't what I'd expected. He was so sad. It was more than nervous. I think he feels bad, and now I feel bad. But it isn't as if I'm the only one who ever does something stupid or gets hurt. It got me to think about that whole time. That's when I realized it wasn't long after that accident that my parents separated. Hadn't you noticed that before? Well, I kind of did, but not exactly in the way I'm seeing it now. As a kid, I didn't think about the consequences of my actions, or how what I did impacted other people. Like, why should anyone care? I'm the one doing it, not them. It made no sense. I still cared when other people did things I didn't like, but I was 8 and mostly just mad that nothing felt like it was in my control. You could tell that he's going out to something too high for him to continue. It's really difficult to deal with because of that attitude, but looking back, I think that's what saved me from something a lot of kids go through, blaming themselves for their parents' divorce. It never crossed my mind that anything I did made a difference in my mom and dad's relationship. They would do what they did no matter what. Now, though, I guess it's kind of hard to ignore that thought, huh?
I mean...
The situation was already so hard, and I wasn't a good kid, so that's his words to address as he wrote down. The conclusion and finish. It was silent between you. But only for a second. Cove pulled himself up to his full height, his chin held aloft. Whatever he decided, he was resolute. I'm going back. I've got to talk to my dad. I'm not going to let things be like before, where I just feel crappy and just even tell him what's going on. It doesn't work for either of us. You can go ahead if you want. I won't mind. I still really want to do this, and I'm sure it'll be okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Actually, let's ignore these first two. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This doesn't feel right, letting him do that. And you're his friend. There's no way you're going off on your own. We always look out for each other, remember? Cove smiled gently, having wanted that deep down. Thanks, let's go. You and Cove retook your steps down the docks once more, heading back to Mr. Holden's scuba shop. The customers you'd spied in there before were now leaving the store, new bags clutched in their hands. You hoped that this would mean Cove could have his conversation without a public audience. This time, Cove strode inside of the shop with purpose. Mr. Holden still at the counter, fussed up to greet whoever had come inside. Grinned as he approached.
How's it going?
Hello again. Forgot something? Sort of. Cove reached the counter now. You needed to rush just to keep up with him as he crossed the show floor. Mr. Holden raised an eyebrow, taking Cove's shift in attitude, and chose his next words with care. Is everything all right? Cove swallowed, not answering initially. For the record, if you don't tell Cove about his dad trying to give you money to be his friend when you're a kid, you have an option to do it when you're 13. If you don't do it either of those times, you have another option to do that when you're 18. I don't know if there's further options or not, but if you wait until Cove's 18, you just blast it off. I mean, it doesn't feel right to never tell him about it. Cove swallowed, not answering initially. Talking openly with his dad was still somewhat new for the son. He knew that he was searching for the right way to begin. I wanted to ask about what happened. Mr. Holden winced as if the words had struck him physically. The accident? No, the divorce. The pained expression fell from Mr. Holden's face. Wide-eyed, his jaw slack, he gaped at Cove.
Huh?
Why? Cove glanced over his shoulder at you. As your eyes met, you saw him drop confidence by having you by his side. Turn back to his father. I want to know the truth. His tone was grave. Did me getting into the accident hurt your marriage? If I hadn't done it, would you and Mom have gotten along better? No. Hell no. Mr. Holden quashed his suggestion with the gravity you rarely heard in his voice. You were 8 years old. You're not responsible in any way. Kyra and I should have protected you. I can understand why you're feeling that. What happened was so horrible. How could it not have an impact? It did. It was a reflection of us as parents. The relationship between just your mom and me was separate and already unsalvageable. Cove turned away, his brow still furrowed as he looked at the floor. Maybe I'm being anxious and it's taking over, but it wasn't just that. I always cause problems. Hold on, I don't want to give up without explaining his worries. What if I'd been easier to raise, or if you'd had me later on? Maybe even if you didn't have me at all. It might have been better for the two of you. If I didn't have you, then what good would my life be? Sorry, you're just so sweet. Mr. Holden didn't let the words hang in challenge in the air for even a second. He leaned over to Cove, took his son's arms in his hands. Cove, listen, there's only one person to blame for things not working, and that's me. Cove opened his mouth to speak. Mr. Holden forced his son, determined to risk any questions in Cove's mind. I'm not saying this to dishonestly push accountability off from someone else or throw a pity party for myself. You want to know the truth, so that's what I'm giving you. Your father is the reason our family couldn't stay together. You think you could have trouble? You should have seen me at your age. You're such a good kid. I can hardly believe how good you are. Mr. Holden's eyes were misty as he squeezed his son's arm. There's nothing, absolutely nothing you need to blame yourself for. I'm sorry, Cove. You and Takira. Mom? Yeah, your mom. His main face seemed slightly into a bittersweet smile. Takira, she was just so smart and driven and completely bursted with life. It's as if she could do anything. You know, there wasn't a single solitary person who didn't want even a piece of her attention, just to catch her eye for a moment. But for some crazy reason, she had a soft spot for my 17-year-old screw-up self. That's when we first met, so it definitely took some time before I managed to ask her out on a date. Mr. Holden shook his head. The smile melted as his recollection became calm once more. I can talk, honestly. I can read. Then we'd only been officially together for about 6 months when we found out we were having a baby. I was so worried, so scared. She was so brave. She was my rock, but we both knew the road ahead was going to be rockier. When we got married, I didn't see it as a dream come true. I wasn't about to start living my life the only way I could imagine doing so. I thought what happened, and throwing my cards in with a girl like her was worth the risk. He grimaced, the sentence sour in his mouth, regretting his past perspective. I'd been taking care of myself on my own and getting by it. Then all of a sudden I was going to have a wife and a child. So I thought, all right, I better set things up and take care of all of us. And that's what I did. Sort of. He rolled his eyes. I made money, kept the roof over our heads, and put food on the table. But I was always busy, focused on taking care of things. I didn't stop to consider what anyone else was thinking or what they actually needed. I made every decision about what I did, and as a result, what happened to the family by myself. Never asking what your mom felt, even wondering if she might have an opinion. I tell Kara about the great place I found and how we'd be moving there in the same breath. Or that I spent all our savings and taken out a loan to start this business we're standing in, even more nonsense. Anything I felt I needed to do, I did. Kara couldn't even ask where I'd been all day without me rolling my eyes like she was being a nag. Let's make sure we didn't starve, obviously, right? Couldn't she trust me? He sighed, his head hung low. I could see how this affected their marriage.
God.
She went to school part-time while raising you, really nothing down, but that didn't matter to me back then. She could have spent her days laying in bed, not dying, and I would have felt the same. I didn't care. I was going to get it all done on my own, either way. It's so stupid. I admired her more than anyone there was, and there was nothing at stake. And as soon as responsibilities were involved, I couldn't let myself rely on her. He combed his hand through his hair, searching for an understanding of his own younger self. I'm not even sure why. Maybe I had something to prove. Maybe I'm the one who didn't trust her in the end. Poor Kyra. She had to spend every day mentally weighing the pros and cons of putting up with my horrible ideas for the sake of peace, trying to explain to my blockheaded self what I was doing wrong. It must have been so stressful and frustrating, constantly having to let everything go because I was stubborn and absolutely would make a fight out of it. He snorted bitterly. I was definitely stuck in my head a lot those days. Our relationship at that point was made of arguments and cool tolerance, but I still genuinely didn't see the divorce coming. We made it through the first few years, and after that, I never really considered it ending. It was just how life was. In retrospect, it's clear Kyra kept thinking on it more every year, especially because she managed to finish her journalism degree and with us being more stable, financially, that is. She thought of everything. She even timed it right when your school ended for the year, so the process would hopefully be all settled before you had to worry about class again. We were already talking about it before the accident ever happened. I know I took it really hard being a sad sack all around the neighborhood. Even that is unfair of me. When it shook out, I'm the one who got everything. Tara didn't want to leave you, Cove. She never would have, and soon she felt like she had no choice but to end the relationship. The business was doing really well by then, so I had an easier time making a living. She was between jobs, and when she did get a new job, it meant that she'd be traveling all the time. That's why she willingly accepted me having full custody. She didn't get to be there with her child for so many moments, and you had to spend half of your life growing up without your mother, and it's my fault. Mr. Holden closed his eyes briefly as he took a breath. So that's it, the story of Cliff and Kyra's marriage. Not exactly a fairy tale, but I want to be clear. Claus gripped on Cove's arm tightness. No matter what happened with me and her, I'd never, ever want to miss out on being your dad. Cove's throat bobbed as he swallowed, his eyes glistened, glossy with tears that had yet to fall. He blinked quickly, trying to hold them back. Thank you for telling me. That is really good. I love that his dad took responsibility for his behavior, that he accepted that he screwed up majorly, and that I tried to make it work, but he wasn't meeting her halfway. His voice was hoarse, low, more than a whisper. Mr. Holden brought a hand up to his face and lightly nudged Cove's chin. You're welcome. You're grown up now, right? You deserve the truth. That's the least I can do for you. Cove managed a fragile smile. Thank you for taking care of me, for all of it. Mr. Holden brushed the compliment off with a wave of his hand.
No worries.
It was nothing. Look at where we ended up. I've got this whole entire store, a house, friends here, very thoughtful son. It's all good for me.
I'm so glad.
I'm glad. His voice was so quiet, and he ducked his head shyly after saying the words. Mr. Holden patted him on the back. You could see the tears in Cove's eyes still shining, threatening to spill over. Mr. Holden put an arm around his shoulders, gently steering towards the door. You should go have fun. Make some nice memories. Cove's gaze flicked over to you. The watery smile on his face solidified. All right. Good. Now out you go. Mr. Holden nudged the two of you out of the shop. You both walked silently as you made your return to the dock. Cove's face was pensive, clearly still digesting everything his dad said. Smiling sighed, catching your attention. Mr. Holden reached for the bag he brought, and raised it up. Jules, I want to call my mom. I'm not going to leave her out of things. I want to know what she thinks about what happened and all of that. Still with the straps to his back, but still remained close shut. It's not like I don't trust Dad. It's just mom's thoughts are important too. I get it, Cove. There's two sides to every story, after all. You seemed relieved that you understood. You knew he didn't want to be a bother with another delay. Thanks, and I guess there's no time like the present. Time to add. Without many pep talk, he finally opened his bag and found his gun. Silver launched it quickly and tapped over to his favorite contact. Held up his mom and put the phone on speaker as it dialed. Hannah must have had her phone close because she answered almost immediately.
Cove.
This is a pleasant surprise if they'd be getting back to me later. Hey, Mom. Paused for a second and then looked at you. On speakerphone with Jules, too. Hey, I'm here. Oh, hello. I'm popular today. So what's going on? Don't keep me in suspense. Are you a jet skier already? Joe chuckled and scratched the back of his head. We haven't started yet. Actually, there's something I kind of want to ask you about.
Really?
I'm intrigued. The voice was bright and excited. Joe moved the phone closer to his face so he could speak softly, sure that the tone of this conversation was about to change. I was talking to Dad earlier. It was about your relationship and why you both divorced. That one syllable had lost all her earlier energy, so tightened his grip on his phone. It does make sense that the task would come up today. Yeah, but he tried to brighten up the mood again. You weren't used to him being the quirky one of the two. I can only imagine it felt like a strange role reversal for him. Dad said you were really amazing. He admired you a lot. What a flatterer. She sighed wistfully, and you could hear some interference. Maybe she had shaken her head. You couldn't tell for sure. Cliff. He bungled himself through regular, everyday adulting and social situations in astoundingly charming ways. But somehow, at the exact same time, he was an ambitious, slightly shady, under-the-table type of man when it came to making his living in the world. This Essentially, your father was an absolute heartthrob for someone such as myself. Cove and Kyra laughed delicately. Tension has broken into something lighter, more familiar between the two. It's cool you both have nice things to say about each other. I agree, baby. She took a moment before continuing carefully. Do you have questions about what happened? I'm not sure. Cove squinted at the phone in his hand as he tried to think, his free hand brushing through his hair. I just kind of wanted to know how you described what it was like. Did I tell you what Dad said about it?
All right.
I don't think Cliff would mind. Whatever he told you is probably what he'd say to me. All right, go for it. You're taking a breath. Cove recapped Cliff's experience to his best of all his dad's story. He went into a great amount of detail, and not a single thing was missed. Carol listened on in absolute silence, letting her son speak without interruption. When Cove finished, she took another deep inhale of air. So, what do you think? Kara sighed softly. You heard a clacking noise as she was strumming her nails on the back of her phone around the countertop. That definitely sounds like Clifford. He's actually wrong, but he doesn't have a total picture. Puts emphasis on the wrong places, I think.
Huh?
What do you mean? As far as Cliff unsurprisingly downplayed himself more than he had to. He did? Cliff's eyebrows raised, his face continued to inch even closer to the screen.
Well.
Well, your dad was so praising me, it's only fair to return the favor. When Cliff said he was already taking care of himself when he met me, he means he was on his own. Cliff's own parents weren't, and still aren't, friendly people. They've always had a combative relationship, so him getting into drinking and gambling as a teenager certainly didn't help. He knew they kicked him out at 18, so they saved him the trouble and left home at 17. But I found a way to make it work, even without support. I met him a few months after that. We hit it off right away. It was exactly what I wanted back then. We dated, and then about a half a year later, bam, you were on the way, Cove. She laughed fondly as Cove clung to every word. I was really optimistic about it all. I couldn't wait to be a mother, and I was more than happy that Cliff was a father who'd be along for the ride. We got married quick before you were born. Cliff's recollection of our wedding dynamic is pretty spot on. He was extremely stubborn and just, well, immature. Highly, highly immature. Her voice raised slightly. I got the feeling she was thinking back to her memories living with him. She left the specifics unspoken. It's not like I was grown up either. Everyone, except maybe Cliff, could see our relationship was no good, or at least not good enough yet to commit to. I knew, but I didn't want to give it up. I wanted to keep the family together. Thought that if we divorced or were never together, then we'd ruin your life, though. Obviously, that wasn't true. I just didn't have enough experience at the time to realize there wasn't only one option for us. Maybe things would have been easier on you if we had split when you were still a baby, but it took me years to start figuring it all out. Cove nodded, even if his mom couldn't see it, thinking hard about something. He was likely remembering his own experiences back then. We were married, but never seriously loved each other. We hardly knew each other. I don't mind that Cliff never agreed to marry me. It's some kind of dream come true. I also just appreciate they tried giving my hastily made life plan a shot. I was the one who proposed after all, got down on one knee and everything. Oh, yes. She huffed slightly, something between a chuckle and a sigh. It's very funny and a little sad that Cliff still doesn't know why things changed between us. It's obvious to me, and I guess he does know deep down. He just never consciously made the connection.
It's all right.
I'm not even mad he didn't say the same towards me. Love makes everything different. But you said, I know what I said. She interrupted before Cove could even finish his blurted-out interjection. You don't mean Cliff and I. We were just two kids in a relationship that only ever worked when it was at its easiest. And when you were born, little Cove James Holden, I loved you immediately, and so did your father. Cove was stunned. His eyes started watering as his mouth clamped shut. The inclination we had towards each other paled in the face of that. Our love to you was the real deal. Cliff was the proudest papa. Then, in true Cove fashion, tears began to fall. Stay silent, but you're pretty sure Kyra knew the effect her words had on her son. No matter how much time passed, Cove never got over how amazing it was that such a precious little boy was his. I should have taken pictures of how he would pop up whenever someone referred to as his son. She sounded much tearier now. The slight smile crept on Cove's face despite his tears. Then again, he still does that now. It wasn't hard to imagine Mr. Holden lighting up around baby Cove the same way he did with 18-year-old Cove. I remember how when a real argument started brewing, Cove had a habit of walking away to cool off. He wasn't able to handle it. It didn't seem to have taken after him in that way. He heard her chuckle and Cove looked down, a flush clear on his cheeks. You could just feel her smirk through the phone. She breezed over the next section airily. For a whole relationship, he always ended fights by skipping out on me, for who knew how long. I don't think even Cliff knew when he'd come back. That stops when you were born. Cliff stopped running. He's still gone a lot for work and still had fights, but he wouldn't leave. Instead, he'd go to your room, Cove. If you were asleep, he'd just sulk on the ground by your crib until you woke up. Sometimes he'd pace the room while holding you, or sit on the floor and rock you. He'd stay with you until one of us decided we were ready to talk again. We didn't have a lot of furniture back then. That's part of the reason why Cliff was hanging out on the floor. He really came to embrace it. When our relationship got bad enough that we didn't want to share a bed anymore, he always made sure I got to have the mattress. He instead set up a spot in the corner of the nursery just in case you needed anything through the night. He gave you a more private space when you got bigger, but he still always made sure he could be there for you. There's still no denying whether Cliff understands or not, he made his choices without prioritizing me. It wasn't that he suddenly hated me. To Cliff, I was only a wife on paper. In his mind, I was a cool girl he had dated and generally liked, nothing close to being the light of his life. All his blood, sweat, and tears weren't for himself, or me, or even the family unit. They were all completely and totally for his baby. Meanwhile, I was doing the same, but in the opposite way. I did take us being married seriously. I was trying to force us together as a couple so we would be a complete family for our child. He felt like a fly on the wall of a very personal conversation. I didn't seem to notice when he looked over at him and faced a complicated patchwork of emotions.
I guess.
Eventually I woke up and saw what I was doing. I realized it wasn't going to work. Not like that. When I was ready for it, I talked to Cliff about separating and starting up the divorce process. He was shocked by it, and unfortunately, it wasn't too long after when you had your accident, Cove. Jules, I don't know how much Cove really told you about it, but when he broke his arm, it terrified all of us. Cove could have died. Even back then, we knew he'd likely have a permanent scar and he'd have to live with it forever. Our parenting hurt our child, and he was the one who'd have to carry the repercussions. You were a bit taken aback to be referred to directly. You still felt a little out of place, and she seemed completely focused on her son. Cove grimaced and the hand holding his phone shook. Mom. Sarah continued as if she'd never paused. It was heartbreaking, and then on top of it all, we had to put you through your parents breaking up. Taking that back wasn't an option, despite the timing. It felt like everything we had worked so hard for to make you happy was for nothing. I chose to believe we'd fix our lives from there, but to Cliff it seemed hopeless. He failed this time. It was easier for me in some ways. I had my family to lean on. That made it feel less daunting, less impossible. Cliff had only ever really known being on his own by the happenstance of his birth and then by his choice. When we broke up, he knew he was going to have to put back the pieces of what was left, alone. I wanted to be there for him, even after everything, but I was the one divorcing him. It was impossible. I never managed to be someone he truly relied on, and I had to remember that wasn't changing. As weak as it felt at the time, Cliff still tried not to let any of that show to you, Cove. He did what he could to keep your spirits high about the move, your new house, the scar, everything. So that's why Cove trailed off. He had misunderstood the impact his injury had on his parents. He reminded of something that made more sense now. Mr. Holden had been so hopeful with Cove's Halloween costume because he didn't want Cove to be saddened by the scar. It was clear Cove was coming to the same realization. Now, with all that said, if Cliff was a completely perfect and wonderful guy, I wouldn't have left him. If it was even a pretty good, I would have stayed. It was hard not to have custody. Sometimes I felt like I was a fun aunt rather than the mom I always wanted to be. I might have overcompensated a little at times because of that. She forced a laugh. There was an uncomfortable edge to it. You could tell she was trying to blow up a very real anxiety of hers. Cliff looked ready to say something. His mom kept talking, kept moving forward. So, it's not Cliff's fault alone that our relationship didn't work. We were always better as co-parents and spouses. But I know when separating that it wasn't going to be even. And Cove, the only reason I could stand up being there for you all the time is because I knew the situation was reversed and I could have provided a more stable environment, so I would have done the same. Your dad would have given up his house, his shop, and his right arm if it was guaranteed that you were safe and happy. So safe as it was, I'm sure you'd be okay. Because you were still with someone who loved you more than anything else in the world. It's definitely a different spin, but it does make sense with in light of what Clifford said. But I like that we get these two different perspectives. Cove lowered his head, tears falling to the ground. He tried to speak, but took him a few tries. Thank you for telling me. His voice cracked and Kyra made a long sound on the other end of the line. I'm sorry, baby. I didn't mean to make you cry.
I get it.
It's okay. She still cried. Everyone could tell, being physically present or not. I love you, Mom. You've always been my mom. Not the mom, my mom. Okay, I did not expect this to be emotional. I love you too. Her tone was thick with emotion. She was at the edge of a voice break herself. I'm so lucky to be your mom. She started to sniffle openly.
Don't worry about that.
Don't feel bad for me with how it worked out. I promise that none of it was your fault, and it's not gone completely miserable over here. I have an incredible life with a beautiful baby boy of my own who calls whenever he can. At that, Cove's tears only came down heavier. Thank you. Kyra sighed affectionately, and you could hear the warmth in her voice. I think that's good for now. Maybe we should end the call. Take a moment. Is that really all right? He tightened his grip on his phone. You could see how emotionally exhausted he looked.
Of course.
We'll be in touch soon. For now, you'll only be able to keep thanking me or apologizing.
Hey!
Cove cried out defensively over the accusation, making his mom snicker. Bye, and goodbye to you, Jules. I'm glad you're there for my baby. See you. Bye, Mom. I love you. Love you too. Cove hung up. He let his hand drop to his side, his phone brushing the fabric inside his sweatsuit. His other hand went up to his face. He tried to wipe the tears from his eyes. His face was red, and he struggled to put his phone back in his bag one-handed. He could tell he was getting worked up. So I just used both of his hands to seal his phone back into its normal place. Cove sniffed and then reached out for you. His hand trembled in your grasp, and he squeezed back. He needed to feel your support. You want to go see your dad again? He didn't have to tell you what was on his mind for this. Cove nodded his head weakly. You rushed back the way you came, feet planted across the floor. At this rate, you're never going to get that skiing. But yeah, there's no way he's going to be able to jet ski in this state. He returned to the scuba shop for the third time. He reached his dad's door, and Cove still wasn't slowing down. He pushed his way through the door at full speed, then released yours as he charged in. Mr. Holden had been walking around the middle of the store checking over things. Immediately, he turned at the step.
What's wrong?
Where's the fire? The grizzly guy looked at Cove's face. He hurriedly opened his mouth, probably to ask what was wrong, but then Cove watched his step at his father. Cove threw his arms around Mr. Holden's neck. He buried his face in his dad's shoulder and started to sob with deep, pitching breaths. He clearly had no idea what was going on, and his hands hovered awkwardly in the air. He looked at you for a brief second, hoping for understanding before turning all his attention on Cove. He wrapped both his arms around Cove's back. Cove looked secure in his dad's father's embrace, protected and safe. It's okay. You'll be okay. Whatever it is, it's going to be okay. Cove kept crying. He inhaled deeply, his voice choking up when he tried to speak.
I'm so sorry.
You always tried to be there for me when I was growing up, and I was mean to you. I'm sorry.
What?
Mr. Holden was completely taken aback. He hadn't expected this to be the issue. You really don't have to apologize for that, bud. Kids are allowed to be mad at their parents. It's my job to take care of you. You really didn't do anything special. Bill shook his head as emphatically as he could while still tucked in against his dad. You've always supported me no matter what. You've always loved me. I wish I realized how much you did sooner. Close squeezed him tighter. Thank you. I love you, Dad. Why is this game being worked on? I mean, it's not good writing that it's affecting me like this. At his son's heartfelt confession, the father became choked up as well. He compressed Tilly into a crushing hug. I do love you. I always will. You can count on that. I want to be there for you, too. They clung onto one another, absorbing the moment. And after a while longer, they slowly began to loosen their hold. Joe stifled the mood away so he used his palm to wipe away his tears. His shirt was visibly damp where his face had been. He patted the top of Cole's shoulders. He looked at his son with pride. You've grown up so much. He started to laugh through his tears, a wavering smile on his lips. He doubted that Cove would have ever thought that crying on his dad's shoulder was a sign of maturity, but it was true. Cove had changed over the years. It made you wonder if there was more to understand about your mom. Thought back to when you were little and tried to think if you'd ever change perspectives on your parents. Appreciate everything they had done for you, but maybe you could tell them thank you when you got home. Just in case. Cove wiped at his eyes again. You're a good dad. You're a good son. Mr. Holden was plainly touched by the words and deemed it his beloved child. Cove looked away as Charlie traced his scar. Just chuckled and released Cove to rub at the back of his neck. The earlier panic had bled off and left the confusion. I'm glad we had this talk, but what was it that made you cry in the first place? You weren't too bad off when you left us there. Oh, Cove ducked his head further down, getting a very good look at the scuff marks on the floor. I called Mom. I wanted to talk to her about all of this. He kicked one of his feet shyly, swinging it back and forth against the ground. Things felt really hard when I was younger. It wasn't just me going through stuff, Dad. You never gave yourself credit. Cove smiled gently and gripped Cove's shoulder with reassurance.
Oh.
Kyra is an amazing person to come to my defense. For me, the only hard part was seeing you and her unhappy. Everything else? That was nothing. He wrapped an arm around Cove's neck for another side hug. Cove leaned in the embrace and glanced up at his dad. Your old man is tougher than he looks. Check out how powerful these arms are. And this is 10 years on. I was in my prime those days. Cove laughed. It was a light sound, full of fondness. Okay. Glided down a little, finding a quick moment of seriousness. I think that's a test that all kids whose parents are divorced eventually need to have a test. Or maybe not need, but it's definitely something that should be discussed. Obviously not when they're little. When some time has passed and there's a chance to really have perspective. But yeah, it sounds like Chris and Karen never were bitter towards each other. It just, like Kara said, it was not a good time for them to get married, and he really only went along with it for Cove. But I'm glad that, yeah, staying married just for the sake of your kid is not a good reason to stay married. And I'm glad that Kyra had the maturity and wisdom to recognize that and do what was best for everyone, even if it meant that she wouldn't get to have custody of Cove. Thanks again, Dan. I know you don't want me to feel bad, and I'm happy because of everything you and Mom did. I have a really nice life. Mr. Holden's countenance became much more serious. He didn't take what was said lightly. Oh, you are very welcome. That's so good to hear. Jenny let Cove go again. This time they both took a step back to their normal proximity. Mr. Holden cleared his throat. He looked at you right in the eyes.
Well, that's a relief.
And I also appreciate that you were here for support, Jules. What a true friend. Cove looked back down, embarrassed. You're both so sweet. He grinned at the couple of big softies. Both smiled warmly, nudged Cove gently as if to say, look how lucky you are. Hey, maybe I ought to give you another $20 for all this. You've put up with a lot over the years. Cove's cheeks puffed up into a pout.
No.
We're just gonna laugh. Cove was a riot.
Sure.
Okay, I'll leave making jokes about that, Cove. Cove smiled, satisfied at that. Alright. Cove exhaled slowly, his posture relaxing. You better get going. You still have work done, and I think Jules has been patient enough. Cove grinned and waved the two of you off. Sure thing. I'm happy you both stopped in, but you gotta have some fun. Be careful out there. I don't need to go jet skiing anymore, Jules. If you still want to go, I don't mind watching. No way. You are a mature young man, and if you want to jet ski, then you should go out and jet ski. I'll still be here if you need anything, right? Yeah, okay. Take care of yourself. Go away back to his dad. He started walking out. You followed. When he returned back to Mr. Holden before you went out the door, he was waving. Hey, kids, you'll keep great. Once again, as had become today's habit, you and Cove walked down the dock side by side. But this time, Cove had a bounce back in his step. His smile was soft but radiant. Thanks for staying, and sorry for how long it took. You do the same for me. He had his back and he had yours. It was just how things went between the two of you. Cove grinned at you, all grateful positivity and sunshine. The water lapped the dock beneath your feet. Cove looked in when a particularly strong wave crashed against him. weird to think about my parents' relationship. There's all this stuff that I don't know because I wasn't there, because I was just a kid, or because I didn't even exist yet. It feels really complicated. I know what you mean. I feel that way about mine. You sometimes hear your mom talk about something and be completely depressed. It's strange when you had been around for something but hadn't fully understood it because you had been too young. So nodded without elaboration. Looked out into the ocean wistfully for a moment before he shook it off.
It's nice.
I'm happy they were married, even if they didn't stay together in the end. I'm glad you're feeling better. You have to focus on what was ahead. We're not going to ask about marriage. First, the two of you began to more quickly make your way across the board. Despite your excitement, you were both careful. Neither of you wanted an accident, especially after what happened with Cove's first jet skiing trip. When we got to the rental place, you were surprised at how easy the process was. It took no time at all for Cove to climb on his jet ski with shaky legs. You entered your own jet ski. You spent this entire time wanting to jet ski and were thrilled to finally climb onto it. It was lime green with blue detailing. Jet ski rock pointless you got on, bobbing with the waves. He looked across the Cove. He sat motionlessly astride his jet ski, preparing himself to fire it up. Even from a distance, you could tell his hands were clamped onto the handles too tightly. He was stiff and nervous. It'll be all right, Cove. Trust yourself. He took a deep breath. You could see the rise and fall of his chest.
Thanks.
Thanks, Jules. He inhaled slowly and started up the jet ski. It roared forward, and you were surprised you could hear him squeak over the sound of the engine. Stopped after 2 seconds and ramped again. After he calmed down, he started it up once more. Cove sputtered and stalled with it for a while, going a little farther each time. He grew more comfortable with the feel. He continued to struggle with the jet ski, but he refused to let us stop him. He kept going until he wrangled the machine into submission. Cove eventually reached a point where he only stopped the jet ski when he had something to say. He kept shouting things at you. This is amazing! Did you see that, Jules? This is so great! You've gotten your own jet ski going as well. Make sure to keep a safe distance. Cove watched what you did with enthusiasm. Nice turn! He zoomed forward and you could hear his bright laugh ring across the waves. The relief he'd taken to it so well. You had no trouble controlling the machine yourself and enjoyed the freedom it offered. Better on the ocean with a wide smile on your face. Eventually the sun set and you had to pack up. Cove was thankfully still in one piece, no gas necessary. After everything was returned, Cove dug his phone out of his bag and texted his parents to let them know all about his trial. An idea to take a photo to mark the occasion struck Cove, and he wanted you to join him in the selfie. Silly pose! Cove snickered when he got into position. He hesitated for a moment before trying his own funny face. He showed you the picture. It made you smile. It would be a nice memory. His phone vibrated after only a moment after texting it out. Mr. Holden and Kyra had likely been waiting the entire day to find out how this outing would go. And with the news of their success, both the Cove's parents and back how proud they were of Cove for how far he'd come. Watching him grin in the setting sun after facing so many fears for day, you felt the same. Oof, okay, wow, that's... Okay, we're done. I wanted to do one more, but no. I'm not gonna make it. Okay. That's it for today. I'm not sure when I'll be streaming next week. There's other stuff going on that may affect when I can stream. But it will be Wednesday or Thursday. I can promise that much at least. It depends on if I have anything going on Wednesday. Yeah, this is fun. So if we're going at this rate, we're going to be, it's going to be 2 more weeks of playing step 3, and then we'll move on to step 4 the following week. So we will, that'll be it for our life, beginnings and always. And there is another game. I wouldn't call it a sequel. It's just in the same vein as this one. I never played the demo for that. I don't know if you're watching this, if you've seen my Art Spirit playlist, but the sequel for that game, the release date has been announced today. In fact, it will be released on May 27th. So I will be live streaming that once it's released. I will probably use guys to help me make decisions, but also I have a plan for how I'm going to make my decisions for that. Since it'll probably be April by the time I'll be finished with this, I don't know what I will do. If I'll live stream any other games in between, I probably will. The only reason this is taking so long is because I have all the DLC. If I didn't have all the DLC, we'd probably be finished with this by now. But yeah, if you enjoyed this and you're watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe. There's plenty of other videos for you to watch. There's all the other videos for our life. For you to watch if this is your first one. You can watch the stream for all the other, for everything leading up to this point. And again, the link for the base game and the Step 3 DLC will be in the description on YouTube. They're not sponsoring this. I am just linking to them because it's a great game and I want to support them. And this is one way I can do that. So, see you next week, or whenever you watch the next video, and take care. Bye.